Final. Question 17. 1. Viruses replicate by hijacking the host cell's machinery and using it to produce more copies of the virus. The virus enters the host cell, releases its genetic material, and uses the host cell's machinery to produce more copies of the virus too. Viruses are composed of genetic material, DNA or RNA, surrounded by a protein and/or lipid code 3. DNA viruses contain double-stranded DNA, and RNA viruses contain single-stranded RNA. 4. Viruses can be visualized using electron microscopes, which can magnify the particles up to 100,000 times. 5. The steps of virus infection include attachment, penetration, uncoating, replication, assembly, and release. 6. External barriers include the skin, mucous membranes, and cilia. Chemical barriers include enzymes, antibodies, and interferons. 7. The characteristics of an inflammatory response include redness, heat, swelling, and pain. 8. The humoral immune response is the production of B lymphocytes and antibodies. It is controlled by B lymphocytes. 9. The cell-mediated immune response is the production of T lymphocytes and cytokines. It is controlled by T lymphocytes. 10. Allergies are an overreaction of the immune system to a foreign substance. 11. Delayed hypersensitivity is a type of immune response in which the body takes several hours to days to recognize and respond to an antigen. Autoimmune hypersensitivity is the body's abnormal response to its own tissues. 12. The spleen is part of the lymphatic system that acts as a blood filter, removing old and damaged red blood cells. 13. Lymph is a clear, watery fluid that contains lymphocytes and other immune cells. It transports these cells throughout the body and helps to fight infection. 14. Autoimmunity is when the body's immune system mistakenly attacks its own tissues. An autoantibody is an antibody that is produced in response to a self-antigen. 15. Antibodies bind to antigens to form antigen-antibody complexes, which are then neutralized, opsonized, and activated by complement. This helps to fight off the infection. 16. Macrophages are white blood cells that recognize, engulf, and destroy bacteria, viruses, and other foreign particles. 17. Cytokines are proteins that are secreted by immune cells to regulate the immune response. Chapter 18. 1. Parthenogenesis is a form of asexual reproduction in which an unfertilized egg develops into an offspring. Examples include the reproduction of aphids and ants. 2. Budding is a type of asexual reproduction in which a new organism is produced from an outgrowth of the parent. Examples include hydra and yeast. 3. Fragmentation is a type of asexual reproduction in which a single organism splits into two or more parts, each of which will regrow into a separate organism. Examples include some starfish and jellyfish. 4. Fission is a type of asexual reproduction in which a single organism splits into two or more parts, each of which will become a new organism. Examples include some single-celled organisms. 5. Viviparity is a form of internal fertilization in which the eggs develop in the female's body and the young are born alive. Examples include mammals and some reptiles. 6. Ovoviviparity is a form of internal fertilization in which the eggs develop in the female's body, but the young are born from the eggs. Examples include some sharks and snakes. 7. Oviparity is a form of internal fertilization in which the eggs develop outside of the female's body and the young are hatched from the eggs. Examples include birds, reptiles, and amphibians. 8. The three germ layers are the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. They give rise to the skin, muscle, and connective tissue, respectively. 9. A vasectomy is a procedure in which the vas deferens, the tube connecting the testicles to the urethra, is cut and sealed. This prevents sperm from entering the urethra. 10. A tubectomy is a procedure in which the fallopian tubes are cut, tied, or blocked, preventing eggs from entering the uterus. 11. Gametogenesis is the process by which haploid gametes, sperm and eggs, are formed from diploid germ cells. 12. Testosterone is a hormone produced by the testes that stimulates spermatogenesis and the development of secondary sexual characteristics in genetic males. 13. The 3 trimesters of pregnancy are the first trimester, the second trimester, and the third trimester. During the first trimester, the fetus organs are forming. During the second trimester, the fetus develops in size and strength. During the third trimester, the fetus lungs and brain are developing. Exposure to toxins is most dangerous during the first trimester. Labor begins during the third trimester and involves the mother's contractions, dilation of the cervix, and delivery of the baby. 14. When testosterone is absent during development, the primitive gonads develop into female reproductive structures, such as the ovaries. 15. Hermaphrodites are animals that have both male and female reproductive systems. 16. The ovarian cycle governs the preparation of endocrine tissues and the release of eggs. 17. The menstrual cycle governs the preparation and maintenance of the uterine lining. Chapter 19. 1. Quadrate sampling is a method of estimating population size in which a researcher randomly selects a unit area, a quadrate, and records the number of individuals present in the area. Mark and release is a method of estimating population size in which a researcher marks individuals in a population and releases them back into the environment. The researcher can then estimate the population size by counting the number of marked individuals. 2. A life table is a table that summarizes mortality patterns in a given population. It is used to determine the life expectancy of a given population. 3. A survivorship curve shows the probability of survival as a function of age. There are 3 different types of survivorship curves: Type I, Type II, and Type III. Type I curves are characterized by high survival at all ages. Type II curves have a steady decline in survival with increasing age, and Type III curves have high mortality at all ages. 4. Logistic growth is a type of population growth in which the population growth rate decreases as the population size increases. An example of logistic growth is the growth of a human population in a given area. Exponential growth is a type of population growth in which the population growth rate remains constant over time. An example of exponential growth is the growth of a bacterial population in a given area. 5. Are selected species are species that reproduce quickly and produce large numbers of offspring but have low chances of survival. Examples include insects and some small mammals. K-selected species are species that reproduce slowly and produce fewer offspring but have higher chances of survival. Examples include humans and large mammals. 6. Density-dependent regulation is when the population size is regulated by factors that are related to the population size, such as competition for resources. Examples include competition for food, water, and space. Density-independent regulation is when the population size is regulated by factors that are not related to the population size, such as weather. Examples include floods, droughts, and extreme temperatures. 7. Keystone species are species that have a disproportionate impact on their environment relative to their abundance. Foundation species are species that modify their environment and create conditions that allow other species to inhabit the area. Pioneer species are species that are the first to colonize an area, often leading the way for other species to follow. 8. Commensalism is a type of relationship in which one species benefits while the other is unaffected. Parasitism is a type of relationship in which one species benefits while the other is harmed. Mutualism is a type of relationship in which both species benefit from the relationship. 9. Behavioral defenses include fleeing, hiding, and attacking. Mechanical defenses include spines, shells, and claws. Chemical defenses include toxins, pheromones, and scents. 10. Mimicry is a defense mechanism in which some prey species have evolved to mimic the coloration of other harmful poisonous prey species to avoid being eaten. 11. An invasive species is a species that is not native to a particular region and whose introduction causes environmental or economic harm. Chapter 20. 1. An ecosystem is a community of living organisms in a specific environment, along with the physical and chemical factors that affect them. 2. A food chain is a linear sequence of organisms, each of which feeds on the one before it, and is in turn fed upon by the one after it. 3. A food web is a complex network of interconnected food chains within an ecosystem. 4. Nitrification is the process of converting ammonium, NH4+, to nitrites. Number 2, while denitrification is the process of converting nitrates into nitrogen gas to re-enter the atmosphere. These processes play an important role in the nitrogen cycle. 5. The different terrestrial biomes are deserts, grasslands, temperate forests, tropical rainforests, and tundra. 6. Phatic zones are areas of the ocean where sunlight is available, while aphotic zones are areas that are completely dark due to the lack of sunlight. 7. Producers in the food chain are organisms that are usually photosynthetic and are capable of producing their own food. 8. A grazing food web is a type of food web where primary consumers feed on producers and secondary consumers feed on primary consumers. 9. A detrital food web is a type of food web in which detritivores feed on dead organic matter. 10. Biomagnification is the process by which toxins become more concentrated at higher levels of the food chain. 11. Sublimation in the water cycle is the transition of water from ice, solid, to water vapor, gas. 12. Permafrost is found in the tundra biome. 13. Estuaries are biomes that occur where a river, a source of fresh water, meets the ocean. 14. Wetlands are environments in which the soil is either permanently or periodically saturated with water. Chapter 21. 1. Ecologists measure biodiversity by taking into account the number of species, the number of individuals in each species, as well as the complexity of the ecosystems involved. 2. The types of biodiversity are genetic biodiversity, species biodiversity, and ecosystem biodiversity. 3. Biodiversity is important for human health, agriculture, wild food sources, and the functioning of the planet's ecosystems. 4. The loss of half the Sumatran forest is an example of habitat destruction, which is one of the main threats to biodiversity. 5. An exotic species is a species which is not native to the area it is found in. 6. Climate change is the long-term change in average global temperature and weather patterns. 7. Biodiversity hotspots are areas with a large number of endemic species, meaning species which are found nowhere else on Earth. 8. Preserves are areas of land which are set aside for the purpose of conservation and the protection of wildlife. 9. The slow-growing population of whales is at a risk of complete extinction due to overhunting. 10. Examples of recent and current extinct species include the dodo bird, Steller's sea cow, and the passenger pigeon. 11. The reintroduction of wolves into Yellowstone National Park is an example of species reintroduction, which is a conservation measure aimed at restoring a species to its natural habitat. 12. Climate change is considered as a major extinction threat when combined with habitat loss. 13. Species introduction, overhunting, pollution, and climate change are all considered major extinction threats.